10 minutes.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Look, I'm here today to announce that we've established a hotline out of our office in the wake of reports that we have received here in Massachusetts and nationally, where people have reported incidents of bias-motivated harassment, violence, and the like. And my job as Attorney General is to make sure that people's rights are protected, that they know their rights will be protected, and that they know their rights will be enforced. And so to that end, we've set up this hotline and made available through social media other ways for people to report to our office any incidents that they experience, and that they should take comfort knowing that the Attorney General's office will look into any reported incidents and take action where appropriate, working with our partners in law enforcement.
Any questions?
What incidents prompted you to establish this?
Well, I think that over the course of the last several days, we have seen reports nationally. We have seen reports here in Massachusetts of bias-motivated, it appears, activity, conduct. Some of it may be criminal, some of it may not be criminal, some of it may be harassment, some of it may be violent, some of it may not be violent, some of it is in the form of protest. But my job as Attorney General is to not wait for bad things to happen, but to make sure that people know here in the state of Massachusetts that their rights will be protected, that the Attorney General's office will be here to work with our partners in law enforcement to enforce the law and to defend people's rights. And that is the purpose of establishing this hotline today. I want residents around the state to know that they have a place to where they can report incidents, and that the Attorney General's office will review all of those matters as they come in and will take appropriate action as necessary, working with others in law enforcement.
How serious is this type of crime to you?
Well, I think it's vitally important that we make clear that in Massachusetts, people have rights. Those rights are to be protected, and that the Attorney General's office and others in law enforcement will stand at the ready to enforce rights, to protect the rights of people, and to keep people safe. I take that very seriously, as I think all of us should here in the state, and that's what today's effort is about. The right of people to say and express themselves, to protest even, to take to the streets peacefully. That's certainly within the First Amendment protection, and we're going to respect that. But we're also going to work to keep people safe, and we're going to work to protect civil rights. And that's what I want to make sure that people know today, that to the extent they are feeling concerned, to the extent they are concerned about their safety, the safety of their loved ones, the safety of their children, they need to know that here in the state of Massachusetts, there are civil rights laws in place, that we're going to enforce those laws, and that my office will work with others in law enforcement to do just that.
Sorry, Mrs. But can you talk specifically about what you've seen in Massachusetts?
Well, I think that we've seen the reports that we've read about in the paper. Anecdotally, we've heard different things, but I think that what's important is that people know today, going forward, to the extent they witness or experience or are subjected to anything that appears to be bias-motivated harassment or violence, whether it's on the basis of race or ethnicity or religion or sexual orientation, their status as an immigrant, they need to know that there are laws in the state of Massachusetts that protect them, and that I will be there to enforce those rights and to protect those rights and to work with others in law enforcement to keep people safe.
I didn't see the language in the press release, but are you making a direct correlation to these recent, I guess, uptick in calls to the election, to the post-election? Are you making that connection right now?
Well, I think that it's undeniable that across this country, after what has been a pretty divisive election, there was a lot of emotion in the wake of the results of that election. It might have happened no matter which way the election may have gone. But we've seen that. That's real. We see what's happening out on the streets. We've seen already the reports of certain incidents here in Massachusetts and certainly nationally. And so I think that in the wake of that, the responsible thing to do for me as Attorney General is to make sure that people know that in Massachusetts there are civil rights laws, there are laws about public safety, and that I'm going to enforce those laws. And the way for me to enforce those laws is to make sure that when and if that activity occurs, that people know they have a place to turn, they can report that information, will investigate, assess that information, and take whatever action is appropriate.
Are there any
Laura, so-
incidents that your office is currently investigating here in Massachusetts?
Well, I'm not going to comment on ongoing investigations, except to say that we have been in touch with respect to some of the incidents that have been reported already in the last few days.
About
More
how
than
many
one,
incidents
then?
are you aware of at this point in Massachusetts? About how many incidents are you aware of in Massachusetts?
Well, we know what we've read about and what we've heard anecdotally, but part of this year is to make sure that we are collecting that information so that people know that there is a place to report incidents to, that they don't have to keep it to themselves, they don't have to live in fear for their safety, that they know that there is a place that they can turn to, and that I will work with others in law enforcement to make sure that their rights are protected. So part of what today is about is to make sure that the word goes out to residents across this great Commonwealth that we are there to protect rights, to protect safety, and that they have a place to turn.
Maura,
Why do you
so if
think
I
this is
call-
happening?
If I call this number and someone answers, what happens from there? Like, just walk me through the process so people understand what happens with this new hotline.
Well, it's like whenever somebody files a complaint with our office, we'll take in the information. I have attorneys and investigators and staff available to listen to and to take in information, and we'll do what we normally do, which is to assess that information, understand the facts, and then make determinations about whether or not this is something that is appropriate for legal enforcement action. Criminal prosecution, civil prosecution, whether it's something for our office to handle or a district attorney's office to handle. It's the kind of work that we do day in and day out when we receive complaints from the public. But this is a specially dedicated hotline because I want to know real time what it is we're seeing. I think it's important to stay ahead of what is happening out there on the ground across the state. And so that's why we set up a specially dedicated hotline to take this kind of information out.
Do people remain anonymous when they call this hotline? And, you know, for people who fear some sort of retaliation, can they remain anonymous?
Anyone is free to report and make calls to our office, and we'll do our best to follow up and investigate as we're able to.
Last question.
So why do you think this is happening? Well, you mentioned that there's all these results of hate crimes nationally and in Massachusetts. Why do you think that's happening?
Well, I don't know that we know enough to know whether something is a hate crime or not yet here or elsewhere across the country. But what is the reality is that there have been a number of reported incidents nationally and some here in Massachusetts. I think that it naturally follows what has been a presidential election campaign cycle that involved at times some pretty outrageous conduct and statements. And there has been a divisiveness throughout this election, and I think that you see actions and conduct in the wake of that. But I'll tell you, I'll leave it to others to sort that out. I'll tell you what my interest is. My interest is as Attorney General in keeping people safe and protecting people's rights, and that's what I'm going to do. That's what my office is going to do here in Massachusetts to make sure that people know across this state that we're going to protect your rights, we're going to keep people safe, and that you can turn to our office as a resource, and we'll work with others to take whatever action is appropriate. But that's my job as Attorney General.
What
Thanks,
kinds of
guys.
punishment can a person found guilty of hate crime, what kinds of punishment can he or she face?
You know, it depends on the nature of the crime and what is actually charged. And there are any number of criminal laws and civil laws that may apply to a given matter. And there may be instances where certain conduct doesn't rise to the level of either a crime or something suitable for a civil prosecution. But again, with all of this, we're going to do what we always do, which is to take in information and make whatever determinations are appropriate based on that information, and continue to work with our partners in law enforcement on these issues.
And
So
has
are you
your-
saying
has
now
your
that there's
office
an
ever?
uptick, now that there's an uptick, would you consider harsher punishment for hate crimes now for the state of Massachusetts?
Now, I haven't really thought about that. I think that the laws that we have on our books are strong, and will be enforced as appropriate.
And has your office ever set up a hate crime hotline like this before, or is this a first for your office?
Well, certainly for this administration, but certainly this office has in the past obtained civil rights injunctions against people who engage in bias-motivated activity, and we've worked with district attorneys' offices in the past where they have prosecuted hate crimes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you very much.
you.
How you doing?